So all those like sort of nuances of scripture mixing together in this one material. And I like to say that sheep hide for me, was now redeemed from being a material that mainly spoke of rituals and ceremonies in Zulu culture to now speaking of my Christian faith and to
Mhm.
professing Christ.
Good morning, Sneh. It's so great to meet you here on Zoom.
Thank you. It's great to meet you too, Petra.
And I'm so glad we could get to talk because I love what you do. I love your art. It's so different for me. And I would love to know what inspires you.
Sure, that is quite a layered question. I'd say what inspires me now, sort of hindsight of the my art career, especially as a student, is my faith, my Christian faith, because I am a born again Christian, and so that has sort of changed the way that I create over the years. Not entirely away from Zulu culture, but also in conversation with it. So I would say just my Christian faith inspires me, and also just me being a Zulu woman as
Your
well. Yeah.
culture. But that I
Mm.
find so beautiful, and
Mm.
because it's almost like your roots, and it's like you expressing
Mm.
yourself through that. So where
Mm.
did you initially, I mean, how did you initially get to do art? Or as a child, were you very interested in art and drawing and, sort of expressing yourself through art?
Yes, I was very artistic. And I think that's one of the things that really kept me going because I wasn't really excellent on the other parts of the subjects, like your maths, your physics. It was just really art. And I'm so grateful for my family for supporting me and letting me just, do my thing. Ever since primary, I would say, and even just leading towards like high school and making my own little exhibitions in the house. It was really,
Really?
yeah, I think it was a thing of it started off in my childhood and they sort of just flamed the flames and
Mhm.
yeah.
But if you and your teachers, what did your
Mm.
teachers think of what you did?
I mean, they always thought I was great, but there was always just that weird tension of, are you saying that I'm great because you're encouraging me, or like, am I actually great, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So they would always just compliment me, and I would always just see it in the marks that I would get with my artworks. And it was always just an ease for me to create. A lot of people in my class found it so hard or complicated. And I'm just like, I just do this thing, and
Oh,
then it just
really?
becomes a great art piece. And till this day, I can say the same thing. It just happens. Although now it is more intentional and much more realizing that it's a gift more than, and it's a calling more than it is something that I just do or I enjoy. So yeah.
And luckily that you could do art in school, because I also hear that many schools don't offer the subject
Mm-hmm,
for
mm-hmm. Yes,
children.
yes.
Mm.
Yeah. I was blessed to be in a high school or even in a primary school and high school that had a space for like just creativity, especially over the holidays. There were classes for kids to come in and just do their thing. And yeah, that really helped me. And I don't think I would be here if that wasn't available for me. Yeah.
And I think sometimes in education and in the whole system, art is
Mm,
sometimes seen as, oh, it's the playful, or it's that uh, subject that we do only once a week, or where children don't take
we
it
get to
seriously
relax.
and so on. Yeah, yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit of playtime and so on.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
do you see also a difference, that you, with your peers and with the children that you were in school with, that they could understand also that art is some way to express and some way to tell stories?
Yeah, definitely. I think what was quite interesting was to see the sort of misconceptions that people had towards art, especially it being like this perfect artwork or an
Oh,
artwork
yeah.
just that is like perfectly done. And I think the peers that were around me at the time when I was still in high school were very much sort of anxious around making their artwork really perfect. And I remember my art teacher just being like, just do your thing. I mean, art doesn't have to be this perfect thing. And I think from there, people started seeing it like more than like a class where you need to create this perfect art piece, but rather to just be yourself and create. And whether it comes out the way that mine came out, the other, or the other person came out, is still a beautiful art piece. So I think definitely like art classes were everyone's favorite, more
Yeah.
than like
Mm.
even exercising classes or being active. It was always just a time. I remember even just my one art teacher always playing jazz music in the art classes, and that was so relaxing, and so important for us as just young people to just get a time to, um, just calm down and
Yeah.
create. Yeah.
I remember talking to some artists in young artists in KwaZulu-Natal, and they said
Mm,
that initially when they started painting or when they started doing art, people
mm.
didn't really understand the message behind it, but rather they would want to somebody to draw them. You know,
Oh
if you
yeah.
can draw somebody, then they think
Then
that's
that's art.
impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's also then almost educating the people around you uh, i-
Yeah.
in what art is, and how you
Mm.
express yourself through art.
Definitely. I think we are in a sort of generation where art is becoming more expressive than um, sort of directed and sort of have your own preconceptions about it. So people are now, I mean, artists are just creating and telling their stories and um, allowing the audience to just see what the artwork says without even having a face or someone's face. And I think that is so important because art is more than just recognizing a face or recognizing a body figure in an artwork. It's about what it says to you. And when you walk out of an exhibition, like what is it that you carry that would remind you of what that specific artwork was saying to you. Um, and so I think, I mean, in as much as it is beautiful to create and to draw people, that is also still art in its own just, value. And I think it is sort of that barrier that now is now being not broken, but slightly just being elastic over the generations where people are like, okay, I can now make what I want to make. And just
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
But tell
Mm.
me, I'm fascinated by the little exhibitions you did when you were a child.
Yeah.
How did you know how to do it? I mean, did you visit art exhibitions and that
Not at
inspired you?
all. Not at
Really?
all. I did not have that privilege growing up, I would say. So it was always just a dream that I had. And I remember we were moving into our home and we like a new home and I had my first bedroom for the first time. And I was like, this is great. I'm gonna put my art on the wall. And as I was just putting it up, it just became this wall of art. And my family was coming through to help us with something, like, because we have quite a big family. And I was like, guys, come see my artwork on the wall.
Oh,
And
wow.
now that I'm like an adult, I realize that that was an exhibition.
Yes, that's true. That's
That I
true.
curated myself and
Yeah.
spoke about my art
Mhm.
in my bedroom. So I think that was one of God's way to show me in that moment that, hey, like, this is something that I want you to do. And He had put that desire in my heart to want to do it and to want to create up until today. So I'm really grateful for that. Yeah.
Mhm. And you talk about your faith and also your culture. And
Hmm.
tell me about your work because I see also you use a lot of natural materials in your work.
Mm-hmm. So, where do I start? So with working with found material, really just in the beginning was this desire and this longing to work with material that I can feel like in texture, in presence, because I believe in the presence of material rather than it just being a thing that I sort of manipulate and cut and mold and all those things. So I started experimenting with that, I think 2 years ago. And to my surprise, I was like, okay, no, this is working. Let's continue. And then it led to working with found material, but more specifically sheep hide and cowhide, which was last year. And I was just fascinated by this artist. I'm not sure if you know her, Nandi Pamtambo. And she does these sort of cowhide sculptures in the form of female figures. And I was like, oh
I
wow,
see.
like this is something I want to do, like, And yeah, I just started off experimenting with that and seeing how that would be something, how I would use that in my own creativity. And so now being Zulu, that material was very like nguni, right? So nguni material, usually you see cow hide, sheep hide, goat hide. And instantly when people look at that, they're like, oh, this reminds me of like, my culture, which is maybe Xhosa
Really?
Zulu or
Yeah.
Swati. So initially I was using it as a means to connect to my culture, as a means to show that okay, I am Zulu, and I was speaking about sort of Zulu ceremonies that would be done at home. There's a specific work that I did called Indlamu and Uzigode Omkhulu, which was just a conceptual representation of what happens at home in ceremonies. And so from there, I remember putting up my exhibition, and I had done my honors exhibition last year. I had done an artwork with, I believe, 120 pieces of sheep hide with my ear made out of wax in like a mold, and then I poured wax into it. And so that ear was attached on sheep hide. And I remember installing that work, and I remember God just saying to me, my sheep hear my voice. And at that time I was saved. I would say I had chosen the Lord. I had given my life to Christ. And but I was still, dipping and dabbing in my own culture and not really having any convictions. So in that specific installation, I remember hearing that voice so clearly, and I just knew it wasn't me.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that was when I believe the Lord sort of started telling me, hey, I would love for you to create mainly in sheep hide, to reference the sheep, the Lamb of God, to reference um sort of me also being a sheep that is in need of a shepherd. So all those like sort of nuances of scripture mixing together in this one material. And I like to say that sheep hide for me was now redeemed from being a material that mainly spoke of rituals and ceremonies in Zulu culture to now speaking of my Christian faith and to
Wow.
professing Christ. Yeah, that's I don't know if I answered your question,
Yes,
but
it's beautiful. I'm really, I'm so amazed with what you're telling, and I'm just thinking also about that
Mm,
symbol of the sheep and the shepherd, and how much is in that message, and
mm,
for us as people. And but do you, with working with the hide, do you learn something about this concept of shepherd and sheep? And is there something while you're working with the hide?
mm. Yes. So it's very fascinating to speak about it now because I've written about it for my thesis last year. But what I just mentioned earlier about presence and absence. So I work with authentic sheep hide, so hide that's just treated but not fake. It's actual like sheep hide.
Mm.
And so there's this lovely sort of fruitful way of working with it because it's as if we're both in conversation with each other. And most of the sheep hide that I get comes in it with its own sort of cracks and crevices and in their own imperfections. And so I reflect a lot while I even purchase the sheep hide. I don't just go in the tannery and just pick anything that looks nice. I am sort of led towards purchasing specific sheep hides. And so while I'm in the studio, while I'm maybe even worshiping, sometimes I do feel like the sheep, the hide itself is communicating with me, not in the means of words, but in the means of just its presence.
Yeah.
And so it makes me reflect quite a bit, and that's why I don't rush any of my artworks.
Mm-hmm.
I take my time. If it means that I just come and stare at the sheep hide in the studio for a day, then that's what's gonna happen. Because I believe that is so important, especially with creating art pieces that would be viewed by the audience one day. And I always say that it's important what you do in the studio and the sort of atmosphere that you're in the studio when now like you are exhibiting the work and the work is out for the people to see. I believe that atmosphere is shown through the artwork and people can sort of connect with the atmosphere that was in the studio and now transpired onto the artwork. So yeah, I would say definitely there are moments where the sheep hide and I just have our own moments and reflect, especially on scripture because it was quite I believe weird for me to now transition fully and to speak about Christ in my work because not everyone understands, not everyone is clapping hands because it's not something that they would typically see in an exhibition.
Um,
It's not something that people typically buy. And that makes it even more challenging. But I think for a good reason. So yeah.
mhm.
Mm.
So, do you guide people to what the message is behind the artwork, or do you let people see something for themselves?
I don't like the concept of guiding people to sort of understand what my work means or to know what my work means because that kind of feels forced. And especially with religious artwork, because my artwork is now becoming religious, not maybe by first glance, but in my conceptual frameworks is very much religious and Christian. So I just like people to interpret it for themselves, like look at the work and see what it says for you. And I still have people that look at my work and think, oh, it's about rituals.
Oh, yeah.
And I've come to just find peace with that because I believe that it's a seed that is planted. It's not gonna be something that happens immediately, but rather people will look at it and think about it, and maybe one day, hopefully, they get to understand the work that I create.
So, this work that you're working on now, so this is all with the sheep hide. Um,
Mm.
does that evolve as well? Have you started with something and then thinking on other things that you want to do with the hide? Or are you
Mm.
going to stick to one exhibition with the hides?
Yes, that is my intention for now. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I'm currently doing my master's in fine arts, and so I have to create an exhibition. And so my main material that I'm going to use is sheep hide. But I do intend on bringing in other symbolisms or other materials like wax and also sorghum seeds, which reference my culture. I don't know if you know what sorghum seeds are.
No, no. Yeah, I know sorghum seeds, yeah, but how
Yeah.
does that represent your culture?
So sorghum seeds are used to make beer in my Zulu culture. So
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
So with ceremonies and when people come together to celebrate, it is compulsory. It is necessary to
Really?
have Zulu beer. So it's one of
Uh,
it's one of those
Really?
things.
And what is
Yes.
it called?
It's sometimes called umqombothi
Yeah.
or just utshwala in general.
Oh, okay.
So yes,
Mm.
that's the words that we use. Yes.
And how do you make the beer? Is it something that you do at home, or are there breweries who make it?
I believe there are, but I'm
Mm.
just not sure where and how. But
Oh, I see.
in my,
Okay. Mm.
yeah, so it's very sort of traditional and it is homemade.
Oh, okay.
So you buy all the ingredients, sorghum seeds. I forgot what the other ingredients are. It's been a
Okay.
while since I've made it, but
Okay.
um, or even helped out. I've never made it myself.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a long process, but
Mm.
it's amazing. Yeah. Mm.
And you say you are using that in your exhibition as well.
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
But how beautiful that for me, is this idea. How do you think of it, or what makes you aware of the fact that you want to use it? How
Yeah.
does this idea come up?
To be honest, it's a lot of exploring and going out to see what materials I connect to.
Okay. Mm.
I mean, I'm very privileged to be in a space where I can ask people for help. Like,
Mm.
I can tell someone I want this specific thing and I don't know where to find it, and they drive me around town and we find it by God's grace. So I think it's more than just finding things and saying, "Oh, I like this." I think it's a connection. Like I'm all the way in the Eastern Cape, and my home is in KwaZulu-Natal, which is in Durban, and it sort of takes me back home, like these materials, and yeah. So
Sorry, I've got a little bug that's
I can
flying
see
away.
it. Sorry.
Can you see it? It comes so close to my face. But
Yeah.
so the but this is fascinating. So does the material lead you to what you're going to do? Do you look
Yeah.
at the material and certain ideas come up, and
Mhm.
or do you have a preconceived idea and say, I need the
Mm.
the grains for this specific idea?
Mm. Yeah, so recently I've just been viewing myself as a vessel. Not in the sense that I'm useless, but like I am just a vessel of what God wants to do. So I just use
Okay,
like myself
your
as a means
ideas.
of,
Mm.
yes, and grabbing ideas and sort of acting on them. And so the materials really just like I connect with them and then I just use them. It's hardly preconceived. I can say that the best works that I've had were either on the spot or just trying things out with a laser engraving machine and seeing what if this happens, what if I do that, and yeah, and just also community, I think is very important. And the friends that I keep sort of keep me grounded a lot. And they're constantly in my studio and just checking up and giving me like sort of advice. Don't do that. What if you try that, And so um, one of my best works actually have been influenced by community and my friends. So I'm really grateful
Really?
for that.
Mm. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you now about, how well, you said also you get inspired by other artists, and
Mm-hmm.
this community that's the strong point, that we
Yeah.
need people, and we need also sometimes
Yeah.
collaborations, where people also
Yeah.
give ideas, or you know, get inspiration from other people.
Yes. So I think it's important to have community, and I've realized this as an artist because it can be you're sort of in your own box and you honing into your own creation constantly that you lose how can I say, the authenticity of it, because you are the artist, you are the one that's constantly looking at the work. But if someone else comes in and they look at it from a fresh perspective and you sort of speak about it, other things come up that you didn't think were there. And other sort of ideas come up that you didn't think were there. So I think as an artist, it is important that we or I walk in community constantly. Yes, so definitely community is important. Yeah. Because I also have a few friends that are Christian that are artists as well. It was a big worry that I had just walking into and accepting the call because I was like, no one else is doing this. Like,
Really?
like no one
Um,
else is talking about God in their art. Like,
mm,
so, or even speaking about their journey with Christ. So I was privileged enough to be in a space where I now can say boldly that I have Christian friends that I can speak about my art, and there's no tension or there's no barrier. They understand me fully, and I understand them as well. So yeah.
is your faith sort of in conflict with your uh, cultural, say, rituals or cultural beliefs?
Yes, it is in conflict, but also sometimes in harmony,
Okay.
because there are some values that we have in Christian society and Christian, like just as Christians, that are similar to Zulu culture, right? So,
Okay.
I would make the example of Ubuntu, which is to love people, to embrace people, to respect people. That's the same thing. That's one of the same things that we have in Christian, sort of like living like a Christian. So
Yeah.
it can be like harmonious in the way that like the values are, but also just specifically in rituals, it is very much in tension with Christian values and Christian sort of ways of living because I mean, I've had to choose. I was a Christian all my life. My family was a Christian, grew up in a Christian home, but we did Zulu rituals. And so when I chose to follow Christ, that was one of the first convictions that I had to leave that, but not harshly. I think
Yeah.
it came at the right time as well because I'm hardly at home, so I hardly even am in rituals or in spaces that would, put me in a like testing ground, I would say. So I think the Lord really was gracious in sort of helping me to make that decision in at a young age as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
but I still go to, ceremonies at home. I'm not the person that would now stand at the gate and not come or
Oh,
be
yeah.
rude,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
now that I'm still at my mother's household. So if they would want to do that, then I would go. I just don't practice the rituals.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I'm not on sort of the sacrifices and that.
Mm.
So yeah.
And you said you're doing your master's now. Was it easy for you to get into university? And because art, of course, you need funding and all that.
Mm, mm. Yes, I think it was fairly easy for me because I would say that I applied on time and I
Okay.
knew that my marks were good. My art marks were good. I knew that everything was just going to be work out for me. And so I came to Rhodes in 2020 and that was when 2021, I mean, that was when I did my first year. And in terms of funding, it was okay. I was funded and sort of was able to study up until now. And so I think it's just a matter of knowing what you want and allowing God to do the rest. Because it's very hard to be a student sometimes in South Africa because there's sometimes lack of funding. And so I would say that I've been very blessed to study with ease in terms of finances and in terms of just the goals, individualistic goals that I have. So, yeah.
I spoke to someone just the other day uh,
Mm-hmm.
about music education at the North. Northwest University also, and we spoke about the fact that there are so many talented students in South Africa, but the funding is always the problem, you know, and that some of the students, it's not just paying the fees, but it's also the living costs, you know,
Yes.
to buy food and just your normal everyday living expenses. So yeah, do you find that as well?
No, not specifically. I, I don't know. I just feel like I can't complain.
Okay. Yeah.
I really can't complain. I mean, there were days where I was worried about not getting funding, but I didn't wait too long.
Mm.
And I believe everything has happened for a specific purpose in my life because I remember not wanting to study after my third year. I just was like,
Oh,
no, let me
really?
go home. Yes.
Oh, why is that?
I was like, I'm so over like studying.
Oh,
Yeah, because it was a
had
lot. I mean,
enough.
coming from COVID, because I matriculated in 2020 and that was the year COVID hit. And then also 2021 also was sort of a COVID year. And so exams wise, it wasn't the best sort of environment for me. And I was very far from home. So if I had to go home, I had to think twice, do I have to go home? Like, do I really have
Yeah.
to go home? So by the time the third year hit, I said, I'm over. I am done. Let me take me home now. And God had other plans. And so he was like, no, apply for honors, like do your honors. So I did that. And so I came back to Grahamstown and I just kept coming back from then. So yeah.
But how wonderful, how inspiring that you stick it out and that you do your thing and that you also, you know, have the inspiration to talk about your faith and also to show your faith also through your art. I think
Mm.
that's wonderful.
Thank you so much. I
Mhm.
appreciate that. Thank you.
But Snare, tell me what are the wishes and what is the dream?
Sure, that's quite a hard question to answer.
Mm.
I was actually sharing with a friend, and I would say that in the past 3 years, I never really had a solid dream or a solid
Mm.
vision for the future. You know, it was always
Yeah.
like in the next 6 months, in the next year, I
Mm.
want this. And so I saw God really just open doors of favor and, allow me to be in spaces that I wouldn't have dreamed to be in. And
Yeah.
so every time that I want something, God just always says bigger, like, I want something more than that for you.
Yeah.
So it's always just been really like just it's a blessing to walk with God because you get to see how much of a great plan that he has for you. It's like I saw this picture of this little girl holding a one flower and then a guy was holding like a bouquet like from like hiding it behind his bag. And then he's like, if only you could give me that flower, I'll give you this bouquet, and this bouquet was huge. And I feel like I'm like that. So I think in terms of dreams, it's definitely founded on the fact that my life is in God's hands. And he does say that we must ask for things. So I ask for things and sometimes he gives me and sometimes he doesn't. So, but the plan is to finish my master's in excellence and to also travel abroad. I really love traveling, and to experience being an artist outside of being a student, outside of like just being in an institution. So I think
Oh,
I would
yeah.
want that to happen.
Mm.
And also opening up my own art gallery one day that is also founded in my faith and founded in sort of my journey with God. So yeah,
Mm.
it takes a lot of boldness to do those type of things, but I think it's possible. Yes.
Exactly. I do totally agree with you. And I also believe that what we wish for, God gives us more than
Mm,
we can ever imagine.
yes,
So it's
definitely.
wonderful, yeah.